I am currently ordering lunch and that I'm gonna film. I'm ordering lunch for me and my boyfriend because he's on his way and I am very hungry. You didn't need to know this information. I just kind of felt like telling you. Hey guys, what's up? It's Jaime here. It's been a minute since I've uploaded a video, and I really don't have a good reason for that. I kind of just wanted to take some time for myself to just like relax, because you know I am on winter break and I do have to go back to school in a few weeks, so I'm kind of trying to enjoy as much of my off time as I can. But now I'm back, and for today's video I decided that I wanted to talk about what inspires me. Where do I get my inspiration for my writing? Because, you know, when I tell people that I'm a playwriting and screenwriting major, I generally get like one of two responses. The first being they only hear the playwriting part and they're like, oh, am I gonna see your work on Broadway? Or they ask me like, oh, like what are your favorite films and what kind of films are you looking to write? And obviously these are very like well-intentioned. I'm not trying to be like, ugh, if you say these things to me, don't talk to me. Because like people just don't really know exactly what I do. And yeah, you know, I did do a video of explaining like what being a playwriting and screenwriting major is like, but most people don't know because for example, most of my friends are like STEM majors. I'm the only person I know that is a like, you know, playwriting, screenwriting major and stuff. So like I get it. People just don't know. They just don't know. But yeah, sorry, I had to keep my laptop on as I was starting to lose my train of thought. But yeah, so what I kind of want to talk about in this video is kind of jumping off of the second point of people being like, oh, like what kind of films do you like? What films have inspired you? What films do you want to write? And while I am like, I enjoy a good movie or film like every once in a while, I definitely would not consider myself to be a film buff in any way, shape, or form. It's always very amusing because like when I was in my screenwriting class last year, there were a lot of like film buffs in my class, including my professor. My professor was a really big film buff, and they're all talking about all this film stuff, and I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I just like to write shows. I just like to write things in episodic formats. I'm like, I don't really know what's going on. Like, I mean, I did, because it's really not that different. I mean, it is, but it isn't, when doing screenwriting for films and screenwriting for shows and stuff. But yeah, so I'm not a movie person. People think that I'm a movie person because I do screenwriting, but I'm not a movie person. And I know I say this when I just binge watched all of the Naruto movies. Which, by the way, here's a little tidbit of information that none of you asked for, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. The only two if you're into anime, if you're into Naruto but you hadn't watched any of the movies, the only ones you really need to watch are The Will of Fire and the last one. The last because that one's canon, and then The Will of Fire because I actually thought The Will of Fire was pretty good. Anyway, and I also recently watched Encanto and loved it, which I'll be talking about in a future video because I absolutely loved Encanto. But like those are like that's like the most amount of movies I've watched within like the last 6 months. Oh my gosh, I'm such a liar. I also watched West Side Story. See, now you're gonna think like, no, Jaime, you are a movie person. Okay, listen, what I'm trying to say is, also West Side Story was great, but what I'm trying to say, I keep getting off topic because I keep remembering all these things. I'm like, oh my god, West Side Story was great. It'll make me talk about Rachel Zegler and how much I love her, which I'm also doing a video on just talking about that kind of stuff later. But what I am trying to say, let's try to stay on the topic, Jamie, is that given the choice between watching a film and watching a show, I will choose the show, like, or a show 98% of the time. That is what I'm trying to establish here. Now, the point of all of that was basically just to say that, like, shows, like TV show format with like seasons and whatnot, like that is my preferred storytelling format. That's basically what I was trying to say from all of that. Did the lighting change? I also just kind of noticed the lighting might have changed. I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix that. I mean, I think it still looks somewhat okay. We're just gonna roll with it. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, TV, like shows, that is my preferred storytelling format. But what the point of this video is, I kind of wanted to dive in and discuss a little bit how I don't only like get inspiration from watching shows. Again, it's still kind of within this whole realm of like whenever I tell people of like the kind of like the writing that I do, I think they automatically think that it's like you must be a film buff, or then, oh, you like watch all these shows. And again, while I do, and I definitely watch a lot more shows than I watch movies or films, I have not watched like nearly as many as I think people expect me to have. Because again, that's not where I get like all of my inspiration from. So if you're wondering, where do I get what inspires me? Where do I get inspiration from? I'm gonna tell you. Because this is really just a big excuse for me to bring up Joanne Molinaro again, aka the Korean vegan, because she is by far currently, she's just one of my favorite creators right now, but also she is where I get a lot of my inspiration from right now. Now, as you probably know by now, I am a big fan of Joanne's, and that's for many reasons. While I am neither Korean nor vegan, Joanne's videos really resonate with me, and it's really because the moment I came across Joanne's account the first time, I was really captivated. I don't know if I said that word correctly the first time. I was really captivated by her storytelling, just the way she makes her videos. So if you don't know, the general format of most of Joanne's videos, not all of them, but most of them, is she is preparing vegan Korean food while she does like a voiceover telling us stories about herself and her family. The first video I ever came across of hers was the one where she tells a story about the time that her 71-year-old dad was trying to run with her at the Chicago Marathon. Ever since that video, I have been hooked. All of Joanne's videos have touched me very deeply, even the ones that I couldn't necessarily relate to directly. And it's really because someone commented this, and I thought that they put it so perfectly, is because that Joanne is so good at like verbalizing the pain that many of us have experienced, a lot of universal pains that we've experienced in our lives. And I could not agree more with that sentiment. I think that is absolutely like the perfect descriptor for why Joanne's videos hit so hard, because her words, they're so beautiful and they're so profound and impactful, but they're also concise and blunt, and they will cut you like a knife. Like, if you have not watched any of her videos, you are doing a huge disservice to yourself. You definitely should go check her out. She is just so, so incredible. I kind of want to focus on how I said that Joanne's words are very concise and blunt and honest, because I have I really, really hate this whole notion that that writing more extensively and descriptively somehow makes you a better writer, and that if your writing is like not as lengthy and more straightforward, that somehow like makes your writing less, like it somehow takes away from like the impact and the skill of like what you're making. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I feel that especially in, well, I can only speak from my own experience in the American education system, but I feel like it's really magnified by the American education system, of just how like, you know, having word counts and having to do like, they don't make us do this anymore because I'm in college, but like in high school, how we had to do like the 5-paragraph essay structure. Like I literally wanted, oh, that shit it made me so angry, because a lot of the time I wasn't able to just like drone on and on and on and on and on about like whatever it was that I'm writing about. And obviously I'm specifically talking about like stuff I was doing like academically. But a lot of times, and I had encountered many teachers who were like, you have to be writing on and on and on about all of this shit. And you have to write these 5 paragraphs, or you have to meet these word counts. Otherwise, like, it somehow takes away from, like, the points you're making. And it's like, it made me so frustrated all the time, because I think it's really damaging to suggest that just because you aren't, like, overly descriptive or like whatever, that somehow it makes you less of a writer. I think it's a really old-fashioned, honestly, kind of like ideology. One that, again, still many of my teachers from high school very much clung on to, but, you know. I guess, again, those to be expected, because, again, American education system, very stuck in their ways. But yeah, so I'm really drawn to how, and this is kind of in part to just how, if you're familiar with TikToks, like TikTok videos at all, you would know that like the structure of TikTok videos is they're generally on the shorter side anyway. And so it's partially due to that inherent structure of TikTok videos, but I really love how Joanne is able to kind of communicate so many feelings with not that many words, you know. And again, they're still beautiful and insightful and impactful, but they're also like concise enough that like she doesn't need to like make a 30-minute video like explaining all of what she's trying to convey. You know what I mean? But yeah. Basically what I'm trying to say, and it may be in part partially due to me having a short attention span. You know, that definitely contributes to it. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that it doesn't that it does not have an impact, because it most definitely does. But I think that Joanne's the way she tells these stories about herself and her family, I think they're such a perfect example of how something can be stripped down and still so impactful and important. Regardless of what kind of a creative you might be, I think it's really important to immerse yourself in all different kinds of storytelling, because while someone telling stories about their family while they veganize Korean food may not directly relate to the kinds of things that I'm creating, I think that finding inspiration really goes beyond looking at like people who are making the same kinds of things as you, because you know Joanne's not, at least not to my knowledge, Joanne's not like writing scripts for any like television show at the moment, right? So it's like, even though it's not exactly the same thing, I think that it's really important to just kind of go outside of your bubble and, you know, look at what other people are doing. Even if you don't think it may directly relate to what you're looking to do, I think it's important, because you might surprise yourself and be able to pull inspiration from places you never in a million years would have thought would have inspired you. Anyway, guys, I am going to wrap this up here. Honestly, this whole video was just an excuse for me to talk about Joanne Molinaro again, because I adore her and I love her, and I'm so serious. You are doing such a disservice to yourself if you have not checked out her account. She is on TikTok as the Korean Vegan. She's also on YouTube as the Korean Vegan. I'll have a link to her YouTube channel in the description. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to talk about. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna get lunch now. Okay, bye guys.